Good morning, everyone. How are you? Just really quickly, I'm kind of looking off in the camera here. I realized too late that this was being listed under the music category, but maybe it is music, right? So, how's everyone doing today? I am here because I wanted to just really quickly, let me try it over here. I just gotta look horrible. This is what you get. Hold on for a second. Good morning. Hi. Okay, that's better. Ooh, this is what you get, right? I'm not fancy. I'm not fancy at all. All right. So, hi everyone. Um, kind of seeing what we're doing here. So, yeah, hi. Live. Welcome to live. I haven't even gotten ready. I actually have to go down and take care of the cats this morning. But I really just wanted to share my currently experience with the internet, yay, and cell phone stuff, yay. Um, First off, recently I just changed over to T-Mobile from Verizon, and my old phone was an LG phone. It was really great, and it was still use. I was still able to use it for other stuff, and it had stuff on it, and I think I lost it. I'm very frustrated that I can't find it, but that's another issue. Anyway, that's not why it's bringing me here, but that started this whole thing. Yesterday, so roll it back. So I live in a very rural area. I live about 34 miles outside of Cincinnati. Okay. And for 12 years, we have had horrible rural internet, TDS, 5 megabyte download speeds. Okay. And I've been rubbing my eyes. That's why I look like I have raccoon eyes. And about barely 2 upload speeds. And it's been a really big problem. I never really paid much attention to it other than the fact that it caused a lot of stress in our household oversharing bandwidth. Sorry. Um, that it was like if my partner wanted to watch a movie in the other room and I was doing whatever I was doing, uh, his picture and the speeds and it would hang up. It was really bad. Like for years we've been fighting over this. It's just been really, really bad, right? And our upload speeds have only been barely at 2, which makes it very challenging to upload content or do content or anything like that. So I haven't been able to do any kind of like social media or any kind of major social content or create videos and upload them or do anything like that. Not that that's my primary thing. I have a background in communications and a master's in library science. So understanding, actually, ironically, I did my senior project in college on the what was then the internet, and I always say that's another story for another time. But it's interesting because how naive I was thinking that the internet was going to bring us all together and we were all going to go kumbaya. Um, anyway, so I kind of that's my experience with communications and the internet. So, yeah, we've had really, really bad speeds. And about a month or so ago, I happened to notice that there was this T Mobile. You know how you can see, like when you can see all the networks that you can kind of connect onto. And sorry, I have all these cords everywhere and they get ruined because I run over them. I need better cord management. So, so I was like, that's interesting. I didn't realize. Now I had been with Verizon and, you know, And so I looked into it. They had a 30-day or a 2-week trial on T-Mobile internet. So I got the can, hooked it up. Oh my God, night and day. I mean, I went from going 5 megabyte download speeds up to 100, like total game changer. And the upload speeds initially were around 10, but I mean, going from like a barely 2 to a 10, big difference, right? And so I was like, oh my God, this is a game changer. This is like, we actually have internet, we're not going to be. And so I looked more into it and I decided, well, let me see if T-Mobile is, you know, and so I switched. I switched over my cell phone service because you get all these extra discounts. Oh, this is the other kicker. So TDS, for the privilege of getting a 5 megabyte download speed, $85 a month. $85 for 5 megabyte download. And that's a wired connection. Okay. 5 megabyte download speeds and barely 2 up. I was paying $85. Okay. And the internet would go down occasionally. Okay. And I had Verizon cell phone service, which I can't complain, but it was very expensive too. I'm paying for 2 lines, $144 for 2 lines of unlimited data, which I needed. And my partner always just had a flip phone, so he never really used a lot of internet. I did because I have this big, long commute. We live in the country. It's about a 34-mile one-way commute every day to work. Okay. I used to live closer. So people are like, well, why did you move all the way out into the country? And it's like, because I've been working where I've been working for 20 years, and I used to live only like 5-10 minutes away. We moved, long story, we were planning on going, ironically, off the grid and doing all that. Needless to say, fast forward, I'm fully out in the country, and I never kind of anticipated I would still be in this situation, but such is life. And then the pandemic happened, and it was just kind of interesting. So I changed over, and my internet prices for just the internet is $45. Once I turn 55 next year, it'll go down to $35 a month for internet. Now, it is not a broadband, it is not a wired connection, it is a Wi-Fi connection, but the speeds are incredible in compared to what I had. And so overall, the stability has been pretty good. Okay. I've been very pleased. My cell phone service, it's another story. It's not as connected as I would like. I've noticed some drops, but the cost, generally speaking, is a lot less. And I'm getting a lot of extra bells and whistles. So I have a free year of AAA, which I was already a AAA member. I was getting all these, credits, and I have Netflix included in for like $5 a month or something included in on this. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that just it was just kind of a no-brainer because I'm trying to lower my costs for my cell phone as well as my internet, which is a big thing because it's it's like such a huge expense. And despite saying, oh, well, I have, the whole internet cell phone issue thing is, and socialization and culture and all that other kind of stuff. It's a problem. And I'm aware of it. And yet I've got this love-hate relationship with technology. I sometimes really, really like to be connected. I'm interested with it. It frustrates me a lot of the time. I'm all for getting back to nature, cutting cords from all this internet stuff and not being so reliant on my cell phone. But it's hard, and it's not an easy it's not an easy debate. It's not an easy situation, essentially, because having unlimited internet access is crucial for me personally because I'm going back and forth. And ironically, creating social media content, as shallow as that may sound, like right now I'm doing a live YouTube video, which I don't know if anyone's going to really see or want to see, but at the same time, I am I have issues with it. It's a complicated issue that I'll talk more about. But this is what happened yesterday. Okay. So generally speaking, been very happy. Some glitches, but it's been okay. I am getting ready to do, so I have a full-time 37-hour-a-week job that I work on site. A couple of days I can work from home and do a lot of the stuff because I do a lot of the stuff on internet. Okay. I've been there for 20 years and it's in mental health. But it's increasingly because of inflation, it's not paying the bills. And so I've been struggling to try and figure out how I can make more money, at least on the side. I don't want to do a full flip from ending this job and going into a new job because my own personal situation. So I'm like, okay, well, what about remote work? And I realized how limited and unavailable remote work opportunities would be for me with a 5 megabyte download speed. Okay. So that really limited me. And so T-Mobile's Wi-Fi internet has been a game changer in my view. However, I'm finding out that that's still not a perfect solution, and I may still be restricted from getting remote work because it is not a broadband wired connection. Now, I live on a private road with 16 other houses. We live at the end of the road. So TDS it's just like end of the line. That's what you're getting. You know what I mean? That's just the way this thing goes, right? And for them to install any kind of like broadband on a private road, we're going to be the very last people they're going to do, because it's a private road. You can't just say, well, the government can't just come in and say, well, we're going to, get you all hooked up with broadband. They would have to take a vote because it's a private road. Okay. This is what is so tricky about privatization and private roads and public infrastructure and the whole 9 yards, and I guess it's like, duh, stupid me, but we were kind of going in a different direction originally. So it was like, we didn't really think much about it. Anyway, you can criticize me, but anyway. So we're all singing along. I'm doing the T-Mobile thing. It's great. Again, like a glitchy thing. So I'm getting ready to do some remote work. Hopefully, I'm going to be doing this onboarding thing. But one of the issues it might be, I might not be able to do this because I'm not hooked up with a wire, like broadband wire. Because they keep saying, but they're allowing me to kind of go through this process. So I'm starting this training at the end of this month, this onboarding training, and to be able to do customer service remotely from home. And they require a really stable internet connection. I understand that. Okay. But I do have a pretty stable internet connection, generally speaking, and the speeds are pretty good too. So, but yesterday, as I'm getting all this stuff and I'm talking, I had a doctor's appointment. I did that online. I had another appointment with someone else. I did that online, and it was what's going on. And everything was fine. I'm getting things done. I'm being productive. I'm not being productive this morning. It's already noon. I haven't gotten even dressed. I got to do the cat thing. Blah. So everything's going fine. And then about 3 or 4 o'clock, my internet goes down. Okay, no biggie. My internet went down with TDS too. All right, reset the router, blah, 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 blah. So I go over there to do that and then turn it off, turn it back on, although I should have unplugged it. But in the middle of this process, I noticed my cell phone isn't working either. I'm like, what the hell? And it said at one point, your phone is not registered on this network. And I'm going, what the hell is going on here, people? I start freaking out. Now, this is another thing. With TDS, I had an emergency landline. Always had a landline, but when you have cell phone, people think, oh, I'm just going to get rid of my landline. And I caution people to really reconsider that. Now, while your internet service, and I'll get to this, but just for emergency purposes, and this is being discussed, but you have to be aware of it, that if you call 911 on your cell phone, they may not be able to find you. So that's an important consideration. So we had a landline. We paid $12 for the privilege for this, to do an emergency phone line. Okay. So if you use it for just regular communication, they'll charge you per minute to use it. So you don't want to use it that much. It's just for like, if shit hits the fan and your cell phone service goes down, you will be able to make a phone call to an emergency provider or to whoever. Like if you need to call someone, like, oh my God, there's an emergency, but you're going to pay for the money, right? So I've always had that. So when I cut the cord with TDS, they basically unceremoniously just turned everything off. They didn't even like question, like, oh, well, do you still want your emergency phone? And there's some issues with TDS. I got kind of annoyed with the person because they're like, well, we don't prorate, and you owe us all this money. And I'm like, for what? I'd been fighting with them for years about their cost and their quality of their service. Anyway, so no landline anymore. Okay, so I'm here. There's no cell phone service, and my neighbors, I have no neighbors around me because they're not there. Right, they're at work. So I didn't have anybody that I go to. I'm like, oh my God, I was freaking out actually. So I had to drive 20 miles into the next town and went to the T-Mobile store. They were useless. Okay. I had a really good relationship with the manager of that store. He was very nice, but he wasn't there. And I said, and actually on the drive, I did manage to pick up the cell phone service network again. And I did get a hold of a customer service person. And I preface this, I don't mean to sound racist, okay? But I have to say it is very frustrating to be dealing with somebody who has English as a second language and has a very heavy, thick accent to be able to problem solve, because you're dealing with that language barrier and you're trying to understand what they're saying. And the scripting of a lot of these call centers are really, and this is kind of part of the conversation one I have, it's really problematic and very, very frustrating. And I really hope that they change this, but I'll put that aside for right now because I'm telling you this story. So I did get a hold of somebody, and our phone call had been dropped a couple of times, but they had indicated that yes, there is something wrong with the tower. But at the time I couldn't figure out what, how long is it? Is this accident? Was this scheduled? Why wasn't I notified? So all I knew, there was something wrong with the tower. More information. Get to the store. They can't check anything. I'm like, why can't you check the network? Worthless. So I tootle around the little town, running some errands, thinking, well, maybe it'll be back on. Drive back. I get back onto customer service with T-Mobile saying, what is going on? Got a hold of somebody. Again, they said, oh, yes, after this big, long, drawn out, yes, ma'am, and blah, 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 and we understand connectivity. I'm like, just tell me what is wrong, And so I'm talking to them, and they said again, yes, there's something wrong. There's maintenance on the tower, but I couldn't figure out what was really going on, how long this was going to be a problem. And as I'm driving closer to my house, the signal drops again and I lose connection. And I'm like, okay. And I'm about less than a mile from my house now. And I see the tower. So we have a tower right across the road from us. That's a Verizon tower, I think. And I was driving up and I saw the other tower and there was no lights on it. It was completely blacked out, right? Dark. And I'm like, that must be the tower. And so, but I had no cell phone service. So I actually had to drive back about 3/4 of a mile to this other area. And I parked in front of this little community. And I'm sitting here and the sun is setting and I'm trying to just get, and I'm on hold for like 10 minutes, trying to get a hold of somebody, trying to get to the bottom of this situation. And I was so frustrated. I was like, oh my God, like, what is going on? Why, and again, someone from, I think it's a Filipino call center, going through this torturous, yes, ma'am, we understand that, your, internet connection. I'm like, okay, I understand. Forget about the frilly, like, scripted, you're empathizing with me, rhetoric. I don't care what is going on with the tower. And having to repeat your story over and over and over again, going, what is going on? So, bottom of the line, they were doing modernization, tower maintenance, like, so they were improving the tower. Okay, fine, that's great. Number one, why wasn't I notified about this? What about all the other T-Mobile customers in the area? Were they notified about this? I did not get a letter. I did not get a text. And I am scheduled to get text and information. But even if that somehow had been turned off, this was kind of a vital, critical issue, right? Like, no cell phone. It's not even just that you don't have internet. You don't have cell phone service. Kind of a problem. So got no notification, didn't get a letter in the mail saying, we are going to, on such and such a date, we are going to be doing improvements to your tower. You will lose connectivity for this many hours or days, unfortunately. Just so you can make arrangements, or that you can be prepared of this outage. Okay, I understand they're trying to improve things. Fine, that's great, wonderful, but you gotta let people know. I was so pissed by this point. I try very hard to be understanding, but at this point, it's like, why wasn't I notified? Was anybody else notified? And I went through my text, nothing. Email, nothing. There was no letter in the mail, nothing. Okay, that there was going to be this actual outage. I was without internet for about 8 hours yesterday, starting at around 3 o'clock, thereabouts. No notice, no warning, nothing. And I'm freaking out. I had to waste gas to drive in, do all this kind of stuff. It ruined my entire evening. And I'm fine with, like, I came home and I was like, all right. But so the kicker was, I said, well, how long is this going to be a problem? And they're like, well, yes, ma'am, well, it looks like it could be anywhere from 24 hours to 72 hours. 72 hours I could be without cell phone service. Are you joking me? I was pissed. I was like, you gotta be joking me. So I get home, have no phone service, and I'm like, all right, let's make the best of it. Made dinner, turned on the TV because I still have digital, like, I still have satellite, or, well, not satellite, but I have, I can pick up signals. I've got an antenna. And I watched the ending of Look Who's Talking, just sat down, ate my dinner, like, all right, I'll read a book, took a bath, read a book, that's what I remember, those things. No problem. I'm like, I can adjust. And, like, I really actually love it when the electricity sometimes goes off, like if we have an outage, because it gets really quiet. There's no hum. It's quiet. There's a peace about it, because, all this electricity and internet Wi-Fi stuff going around, that can affect you. I mean, that's energy and signals and things flying around. I know that sounds like I'm being some conspiracy theory, but it's true. I mean, there's all this stuff going around. You electromagnetic fields going on, and they can affect you. The cell phone does, they have this, there is a cancer risk. If you've got the phone up to your head, that can be a cancer risk. They've shown that. You can look and find the studies. They may be buried, but they're there. Anyway, so it gets really, really peaceful when all the electricity just goes off, and I'm like, oh my God, this is nice. Like, I feel like I can breathe a sigh of relief, and I'm like, oh, I'll journal. It gets really quiet. You don't feel rushed, and the whole internet kind of makes us feel like this immediacy. A cell phone, we've always got to be connected, and that isn't healthy. And we should take breaks from technology. I really believe that. And we can always feel like, oh, what am I doing? That whole dopamine hit of like, oh, okay, yeah, who's liking my stuff? Who's liking my stuff, right? Um, so it's good to take breaks. Not, I wasn't freaking out in that way, and I just kind of made the best of it. My main problem is that they didn't notify me. Communication goes a long way in basically saying, hey, heads up, this is going to be down for this amount of time. That's all you got to do. It won't be ideal. You can be like, bam. But what if I had been in this critical training? I would have been screwed. What if I was working and I didn't have that? That screws me. And that makes me very frustrated, because I'm trying to earn a living, make money, have connection, and we are required increasingly. And I guess I could choose to do another profession. Okay, I guess I could. That would not rely on the internet or computers or electricity. You're right. I could be a farmer. Even farmers have to do this. And it is a problem. And it's scary to realize how much our civilization is so heavily connected to technology, the internet, the grid, everything. And bam, it goes down. Forget civilization, folks. Years ago, I had bought a little ham radio unit, and I took my ham radio license. I was studying for my ham radio license. I didn't do it because there's other factors that happened, like they always are. It's very frustrating. I couldn't find a place that was doing testing at the time, and I can't find my stupid little ham radio unit, which I got. So I was really trying as a prepper, as a liberal prepper, to be able to understand that I can't rely on the internet or on the cell phone to be there for me if the system goes down. Okay. And I caution people, don't rely on this, because we can't even, I'm very bad about doing math in my head, but you know, when the electricity goes down, like say at Kroger's grocery store, they're all hooked into the internet. People don't are so like scripted into, oh, I'm just going to use this computer to tell me what change I need to give to you. I'm very bad about counting back change. I was never trained in it. I'm kind of like Generation X, like, and I had learning disability when I wasn't probably, and this is embarrassing, but this is because I have ADHD and I had a learning disability. I didn't understand how to tell time on a clock until like about second or third grade. And that's embarrassing. It's very embarrassing. But again, that's my disability. That was the way my brain was functioning. I wasn't understanding stuff. Doesn't mean I'm stupid. It's just that I had a limit, because I'm like, I'm 54. I'm grokking things now. And I love to learn, and I love learning about things. And I've really, really worked hard to focus on trying to make myself very self-reliant, understand stuff, push the boundaries of my comfort level, and be able to get out there and be able to be self-reliant. But because of my mental health issues, like anxiety and all that other kind of stuff, that really mucks up the whole system. The anxiety thing alone, it's just like, oh, I can't do this, and those kinds of issues are really, really a problem. So being able to be self-aware and really working on those issues is really key. But going back to the internet, so our civilization is so connected to this stuff, and man, the minute it goes down, man, we are screwed. I mean, they talk about that. They talk about how the grid could go down, and that you could get a terrorist attack. They could hack into the system and bring your electricity down, and there's no getting it back. So that's why one of the reasons why I kind of encourage prepping, being self-reliant. Make sure you've got backups, like analog backups to anything, paper, this, get a fireproof safe for put papers in there. EMP pulses is not some conspiracy. An EMP pulse is like would be if they fired a low level nuke in a low atmospheric thing, it sends out an EMP pulse, electromagnetic pulse, and it can basically wipe hard drives, wipe electronics, that kind of stuff. That's a very real threat, and people don't understand it. God forbid, I hope, but pay attention to this stuff because it is really, really significant. So anyway, obviously, I'm back on the internet. I have my cell phone service. I checked again today. They're still doing upgrades. I said, am I going to lose my internet again? And they said, possibly, but it looks like they're winding up the upgrades. I'm like, okay, fine. But I needed to tell this story because it just kind of reminded me like, wow. And I feel very conflicted because I have this love-hate relationship with technology, and I try to be, I'm not connected, blah, 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 and I'm going to read an actual book. And we can kind of get elitist about this, right? And people that live in the cities are elitist about their connection. Like, well, why are you living out in the podunk territory? And you're just like, I mean, we're all kind of judging people and being judgy and not understanding each person's situation. And it's like the whole pandemic was like, oh, yay, we're all going to go and work from home. No, we're not. And people are still building office buildings, and the whole thing about employers and being connected, and it's just a problem. So anyway, that's all I really wanted to say. Just be careful, especially if you have T-Mobile, because they're doing this modernization. Could be good, but just know that they will not tell you when they've got an outage in your area. I was actually, when I'm calling the customer service on T-Mobile, they said, we do not see any outages in your area. And I'm like, there is an outage in my area. So that's not even accurate. So this is a call out to internet provider. Like, please communicate to your customers. Don't, like someone was saying that T-Mobile kind of treats this situation kind of as a hobby experiment, and that they're not really considering that people may be, depending on that, and you didn't give them any heads up. At least we would be able to like plan ahead or go, okay, I know that, I won't be in this area at these times, so I'm not, I mean, this is the biggest problem. I frustrates me to no end when people do not know how to communicate. I may be verbose. I know I can chat away, and I may not be as succinct as other people. I have ADHD, but on the other end, people just don't even think to give critical, complete information about anything. Someone will hand me a note, blah, 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 but not tell me what the release is about, who is it from, what's the phone number on here. Like, I don't know. Like, oh yeah, I forgot to put that on. Like, why didn't you put that on there? Like, I don't understand. Like, say this person wants their records put, and it's like, you'd think, well, it's obvious. It's not always obvious. I don't want to assume that somebody knows how to do something. I try to put as detailed information as I possibly can about a situation, so the person receiving it will go, oh, I have all this information, rather than just writing a number on a thing and just expecting me to know what to do with something. Well, I don't know. Where did it go? There's no fax number, no phone number. I have no idea. And people just do that. Like, people just assume, and they leave out critical, important pieces of information. Like, your cell phone is going to be down from this time to this time, so please be prepared. Nothing. And that is, it drives me up a wall. Anyway, with that, have a good day. Have a good weekend. I've got to change out litter boxes again and clean out cat stuff. So, but I hope that y'all's have a good weekend and yeah, stay safe, man. All right. Bye.